Critical path logistics, getting it done, getting it there. Critical path logistics, getting it done, getting it there.
What is Path of the Pale Rider anyway? Is it a comic book? No, that's not it. Is it this? What the heck is Path of the Pale Rider, man? There's no way this is right. How about this? I have no idea.
We can rob a bank.
Oh, it's this.
No, just wanted to give you all a heads up that right now you can add the Madness Network to your Roku account right there. MyRoku.com account, add from to check out our preview. We got 10 of our highlighted shows up there for you to check out. Some of our best stuff from the last 4 years. Look, it's hard to pick 10 out of 2,600 videos, but we did it. And check it out. The campaign is launching soon, so be there. Peace.
The Madness Comic Network and Comic Related Madness proudly presents Madness Tuesday Morning Brew. Tune in to our content on Comic Talk with Pops Van Zandt on YouTube.
Good morning. Happy Boxing Day to everybody. That is the day after Christmas, and I am so happy to be here with a great show. My besties are on this show today. I was really excited when I didn't have any guests lined up because it's the day after Christmas for a long time. And then Tim was like, "Hey, can I come on the show?" And I was like, "Absolutely, you can. I have a spot open December 26th, and it worked great." So I'm so excited. I'm so excited for today. Quick update on Path of the Pale Rider. I am so close to being. We're. How do I want to say? I just want to be done. You know, we're at that point where we're so focused on the end. You know, where we want to get there. But there's some really fucking cool stuff coming in this book, and it's hard to not be able to share it. But you got to read it. You got to read that moment. You just have to be able to see it live in the book to experience it. I can't show you. But cool stuff is coming. The t-shirts are almost done. They're on their way. The pops have been finished. All of these surprise reward bears have been printed. I got a few more tricks up my sleeves. And of course, we got those poker cards way back a while ago. So we're gearing up to fulfillment. We're just waiting on those last few pages to get finished, and it'll be worth it. Hi. Hello. Good morning. Another good surprise today. Got my gloves on and ready to box. Let's go. It's Boxing Day. I don't think that's quite what it is, but yeah. Big shout out to RJ at Critical Blast for that cool video, man. We were all rocking out in the back to that song too. Nice touch. So you all know my bestie Carissa Grant, and if you caught last week's episode, our 100th episode, you saw the video. You saw the video, right? You saw the video. Where did it go? This one. But now we're gonna have some fun. Let's bring in our guest, Carissa Grant, too. Well, hello.
Hello.
Anyway, the lady of the hour, of course, is Carissa Grant. Hi, good morning.
Hi.
How are you? Waving hand. Carissa, good morning.
Good morning.
How are you?
I'm fantastic. How are you?
You said that while you weren't looking at camera, so I think it's not true. When you're like, for those of you who aren't familiar with Carissa Grant, I don't know, what is this, your 4th time, 5th time on the show? 6th time, 12th time? Carissa, hello, good morning.
Hi.
I'm going to bring her on. Carissa. Hi. Good morning. How are you?
I'm good.
Friend and co-host today. Surprised you are listed as co-host today. Carissa Grant. Hi, bestie. How are you? Good morning.
Woo! I'm good. I'm ready for my campaign to end. I wasn't sure if this was a video.
This is your entrance.
Nice. Awesome.
This is, of course, one of my besties. This way, Carissa Grant, who's been on the show almost as many times as Pops Van Zant, but not quite as many. So, as a guest, as a co-host, as a panel, I know he laughs. He's like, I've been on the show more than anybody else, but that's it. So, Carissa's testing the waters to see. You never know. She could be ready to start her own show, but what a great opportunity. I was like, hey, if you want to try co-hosting, welcome. You're welcome on the brew. You've been on here enough times. So Carissa, you're going to start seeing her more often, but not as a guest, as a co-host. So she gets to hang out and with me.
And then we're going to give her a time slot all her own.
I apologize in advance.
No, I think having a show is a great opportunity where you can do your own creative thing, meet lots of community, make connections, and also promote worthy chaos. I mean, it's a great opportunity. I have learned so much and grown so much just, in the few episodes that I've done of the Tuesday Morning Brew. Laurie, it's Glenn Fleming. How are you, sir? Glenn will be coming on the show as well. So very exciting, very exciting. So our guest today is none other than writer, creator, musician, podcaster, mastermind, villain. I don't know. Timothy Fling, is that enough things for you, sir? He's looking like,
Hey, I just got to say, first, I'm so excited to be here. It's nice to see Carissa, as always. For those of you watching at home, some of you know already, but I'm a little bit of friends with these two ladies, and I'm also a fan of their work. So we come by it honestly. But starting off, I want to say thanks for mentioning that I was a musician, right? Of course. It's something that's important to me, and you're going to see me lean into that this year.
Oh, good. I got lots of questions for you. And this is really cool because, like I mentioned, Tim is also a podcaster. Both Carissa and I have been on Creative Cranium. I was on Holden's Top 11. They're both excellent shows. So I know he's like, villain. Shh. We'll keep that part a secret. Only a few of us know about that one. But anyway, but those shows are excellent. I love Creative Cranium because you gather such insightful people, and it's usually a small panel, like 4 or 5 people, but you have a topic, and those people that are on the show are generally knowledgeable about that topic.
Right. It was,
amazing.
I wish I could tell you, Laurie, that I did this because I was so smart, but that's not why. Okay. It happened sort of accidentally. And as you guys know, we're always trying to find ways to broaden our audience and to reach new people that maybe haven't heard of us, right? And I thought, well, we started out with Top 11, which both you ladies have been on, and both did a terrific job, by the way.
So
For
much
anybody
fun.
listening, yeah, that is respectively Top 11 Apocalyptic Movies with Laurie and Top 11 Disturbing Makeup Effects with Carissa. And it's a really good one. Definitely recommend you go back and check those out if you haven't seen them. But the thing about Creative Cranium, what I did, and like I say, it happened accidentally. I can't really take credit for this. I wanted to learn it too, right? And
Yeah.
we kind of forget now that I was kind of the new guy, and also I'm not particularly beloved by the industry or anything.
Lies.
What? Oh my.
I only have a very small group of devoted fans.
And we love you though. So
Oh, you guys are the best. You guys are the
The
best.
man has like 250 backers
know.
on one project.
no.
Yeah, well, yeah. I guess that's. I guess the numbers are.
Oh.
The numbers are actually pretty decent. But what I was getting at was, you talk to some of these heavy hitters, right? And I want to know how they did it, right? So
Yeah.
what I do is, I
You
invite them
still
on the
had me
show
on, so-
and I start asking questions. And it's great because if somebody's watching and they, like, for example, one of the most popular ones was the shipping one. Right?
Yeah.
Like, who
Yeah.
would have guessed that there was that many people who had questions about
Oh.
shipping?
But I
Right.
mean, it's a common thing because like when I first started, I had no idea what I was doing. I'm like, how am I going to ship all these things? You know what I mean? Having never done it before, having never been in, in indie comics very long, it was like, oh, you needed to use like Gemini. A lot of people use Gemini, but there's so many different opinions about how to ship.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? And the right way and how to get an impact and da, 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 da. So there's a lot of different things that you can do to kind of make the experience more memorable with shipping as well. One of my favorites was the episode where it was outside of crowdfunding, like Zing.
Yeah.
Can't think of everybody that was on the Christian and Zing were on that
Yeah.
show.
Yeah.
And there's a few others, but that one I asked so many questions.
Yeah.
Because we're always, campaigning or planning the next book and we need funds to do that. And there's this group of guys that is doing it successfully, not even running Kickstarters.
Right. And, hey, let's be honest, as far as for the rest of us, we've got to come up with some kind of alternate way. And maybe, I don't mean to speak
Yes.
for you two, but the truth is crowdfunding is not as attractive as it used to be. And,
No.
you look at these guys, I'm going to use Jing as an example, right? Because
Yeah.
I know him a little bit, but he's up to something like 6,000 copies and he refuses
Yeah.
to use crowdfunding. So it's like, well, now, of course, that's over. He built his audience organically over time.
Over time. But
It kind of shows you that that's what to do. And that growth should be incremental, not exponential.
right. And that's something that we forget as creators, where it's like, oh, I want to just shoot into outer space. But again, it's like, it takes time for people to find us. And as long as you're continually doing the right activities, you will grow. And you just have to be patient, unfortunately, but that's part of the game. The slog, right?
Yeah.
Embrace the suck, I always say.
Embrace the suck. Yeah, exactly.
It's part of the game. It's like when you it's like every year we look back at where we were and you're like, wow, I have grown so much in this last year. So if you weren't exponentially, there's no, appreciation of the client. You know what I mean? RJ is the man when it comes to shipping, complete fulfillment at no cost to you. LOL, there's a no-brainer for you. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I'll give RJ a quick shout out. He was super nice to me when I was in the initial stages of fulfilling. This was actually number 3 at the time. And I ended up not using his service because that's right when I got COVID, if you guys remember. And I was out of commission for like 2 months. But a super guy. So if you guys are looking for fulfillment needs, shout out to RJ.
Yeah, Critical Blast. That's amazing
Unfortunately, I
stuff.
have to gift wrap all mine. So at the moment, I can't outsource my fulfillment. But,
You're a better man than I am.
No,
I'm not
but
doing
you
any of that.
can. You can go ahead and wrap them all up and ship them to him in one box, and then he'll ship them out. Oh, yes, you can. I'll fix that.
So anyway,
random guy that just
So-
popped in.
you have to understand that's Pops is Pops. He pops into the show and then he'll pop back out. That's
why
part
they
of the-
call him that.
Right. It's part of the appeal of the Tuesday morning brew. Sometimes he'll pop in and sometimes he won't. So Tim, I'm so glad that you're finally on my show, because now I get to ask you all the pertinent questions that have been building up over time. Because typically, when we're on your show, we're answering the questions and not vice versa. So I have all these live streams. Oh yeah, sorry, shiny things. So I have a whole stack of questions that I have lined up, that things that I have been wondering about your creative process and music and Water Wars and all your other projects, that has just kind of been in the back of my mind, and I finally get a chance to have your undivided attention so I can ask you. He's like,
So
oh
great.
good God. So I wanted to start at the beginning. Typically, when people come on the show, I want to know their origin story, like how you got into comics, like what attracted you about it. Did you always want to do it? Something you fell into, stuff like that. So when I started at the very beginning, what is Tim's origin story?
Yeah, what's the origin story, right? Well, I was saving a young boy from a passing bus, and I was struck by a radioactive canister, which no, it wasn't
He
anything.
became Daredevil or Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Pick your
Yeah, that was Daredevil. But in my case, I guess you'd say I was always a fairly creative person. But what I never was a successful creative person. Okay. And I guess some of you guys know I was a writer and stuff when I was in school. I was a published poet when I was 14 or 15 years old. I'm a poet, but that's like the least popular thing to be. So I didn't stick to that too close. And then from about the time I was about 16 or 17 up until my late 20s, almost 30s, I was a professional musician. And by professional, I mean that I was in a band and we went on little mini tours and up and down the East Coast. And I've been as far north as probably Maine and as far south as probably Virginia. Never out west. And of course, that's just regional, excuse me. So it's not too impressive, but lots of people haven't even done that, right?
So what did you play in the band?
I'm the bassist.
You're the bassist. Yes.
Yeah.
I didn't know we had that in common. I played the cello.
Nice.
I dabble in electric bass, but I mean, I could do a lot better if I practice. But that's awesome. So
I tried to play the flute and couldn't make a sound, so I'm out. Unfortunately, the clarinet did make a sound, and that did not go well in my house, so I did not learn anything. So,
clarinet's the worst to learn. Everybody's got to have earplugs.
Well, I couldn't do the flute because I guess you have to roll your tongue or something, and I can't.
You have the correct embouchure.
Yeah, I cried. I don't know what grade I was. It wasn't high school, so I'm okay. But I think it was second grade, third grade. So it didn't work out. And then the clarinet really didn't work. My parents were like, you really sure you want to play that? I was like, no, I guess not. So yeah.
Clarinet, man. Yeah. That's the worst. So what was the name of the band?
There was a couple of them. The one that was the most popular was you guys familiar with thrash metal? If I said that, you know what I'm talking about?
Kind of.
Yeah. This would be along the lines of, we're talking, I don't really want you to know how old I am.
No. Tell us how old you are.
Okay. This would have been in the late 80s. And you'd have had the resurgence at the time of bands like Anthrax, Metallica, Metal Church. And
you just took a picture I saw online with the Black Sabbath.
Right.
Cool.
And that is actually part of my roots. I was back from the day. Well, actually, you might like this story.
Yeah,
I can remember sneaking up into my older stepbrother's room, right, and flipping through his album collection, right? Because of course, when you're that age and you're 13 or 14, you don't really know yet about Sabbath and Floyd and what would have been considered kind of counterculture.
Yeah,
part of the drug culture too. Let's be honest.
Yeah, honestly.
And I can remember pulling out Master of Reality, which is the Black Sabbath album it's a black album with great big purple letters. And I took it down to my room, and I had a turntable. And for those that are listening, if you know who Geezer Butler is, I put the needle on, and I said, I want to do this. And I put the album on, and I played it the whole way through, and I just mimicked everything that Geezer did. Now, I did know how to read music and stuff, but it's not quite as much fun. Hey, come say hi. I'm on TV. Don't be shy. It's my wife, Ping.
Hi.
What are you lovely? Oh, Merry
Christmas. We always want to meet Tim's better half.
Yeah. You'll get to see my daughter come through the Washington, D.C. big shop. She's coming through.
Nice.
So anyway, I'm learning how to play like Geezer Butler. And I had, like most musical stories, mine revolves around a girl.
Of course.
And her name was Tracy, and she was just
Oh.
adorable, and she was so sweet and so cute and so innocent. And she had these big brown eyes, and I
Is
quickly
that all the big things she had? I'm just curious. Because typically when you're that age, it's not the eyes that are big that is
you are
attracting.
naughty. You are
Oh, good
naughty.
morning. I've had some
You know,
coffee.
Santa is going to put you
that
on the
plain
naughty
Of course,
list.
this is
Or
over. I don't have to
plain
pretend
coffee?
to be good anymore.
I don't think that's plain coffee, but okay.
Well, so you know, I met this girl, and I kind of liked her, and of course, there wasn't much for me to stand out in those days. You know, those,
So
you
you
know,
became
man.
a bassist?
Well, I already was one. I'd been playing for about a year or two.
The bassist never gets any attention unless
Never
you
gets any attention,
Oh.
right? Yeah, and
Hey, not worse than the drummers. Well, that's what my husband will say. Says the
Yeah.
drummers get no
the
attention.
singer and the guitarist, those
Yeah.
are the guys, right?
Yeah. Well, they're like the stars, you know. So
Yeah.
I can remember, you know, seeing her standing there after school, and I thought, man, what am I going to say to her? What am I going to say to her? And I was nervous, and I couldn't quite work up the courage, I guess you'd say. I lacked some of the confidence I have now. Being in a band for a couple of years will do wonders for your confidence. So I started, you know, she was in the school choir. And what they did is they traveled around to various churches and things in a choral group that had instruments and everything. And they had what they call a touring production of a show called Godspell. And did you know what that is?
Mm-mm.
Okay.
It's nodding along like, yep, following
It makes it so well, though.
Yeah. I realized that, well, there was two that came out at the time. One was called Godspell and one was called Jesus Christ Superstar.
I actually know.
I know that one.
Okay.
Godspell.
Yeah, I was gonna say it was actually very famous, but to make a long story short, what it is, they use sort of like rock songs to give Christian messages, and they're, by the way, they're very well constructed songs. It's a little Broadway-ish, right, Carissa? It's not really, it's not necessarily too rock, but you know, there's walking bass parts and like very, very musical. And one day she came up to me after school, man, I remember it like yesterday. And I'm standing there by the bus with my foot on the wall, trying to look cool, right? Because I see her over there. And I don't know how cool I looked with my members only jacket and my aviator glasses. And I used to wear a little necklace that was a lightning bolt, you know, like total nerd, right? Like,
oh, it's so cute, Tim. I can just imagine you.
everything a girl wouldn't want. I had it all in one package. And then she was very sweet. She said, "Hey, because I moved around a lot. Maybe people don't know that too much. You know, I went to 4 different high schools.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, and so I had been there maybe 6 months, and people were starting to know me. And she came up to me and said, "Hey, I was talking to the guys. Are you the one that can play the bass guitar?" And I said, "Well, yeah, I can actually." And she said, "You know, I'm in this production of Godspell and blah blah blah, and we have guitar players and drummers and everything, but there's no bass player. We never can find one because." One of the reasons I chose bass, I'll tell you, you can almost always find work on a tour because everybody wants to sing. Everybody wants to play guitar. Very few bass players out there.
But it's such an important instrument. It's like, it's the core, it's the bass, you know what I mean? It's the bottom level. Everything gets built from the bass line and the drums. It's like, those are the two most important to set the tone of the song.
Very much so. And also sets the flavor, right? That's what makes it jazz or metal, or like how the bass sounds tends to, you know, mix it up. So I said, well, sure, of course I know it, right? I'm a player, and I'd love to come to your thing. She says, great, can you read music? And I said, yeah, I can read music. And my music reading's not too good, to be honest with you. And you know, it's terrible. Let's be honest, it's terrible. So she goes, okay, here's the sheet music, you know. You take this, and then our first rehearsal's on Friday. And I can remember running home, and I got the sheet music.
Practice.
Oh I'm gonna be hanging out with Tracy. Like, I didn't care too much about it would have been a little bit of a stretch to say that I was a Christian in those days. I'm more of one now. But so I said, yeah, you know, I'll give this a shot. So I go home and you know, put the sheet music on a little stand. And for me, I suss it out note by note. I'm like, boom, okay, boom, boom, okay, boom, 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 turn the page, boom, boom, right, okay, perfect. Yeah. So it was taking me forever. So I call her up and I go, listen, Tracy, by any chance, you know, I got the sheet music here. Any chance somebody might have recorded one of the performances? And she says, oh yeah, we record it every night. And I say, is it on a cassette? She says, yeah, we got one on a cassette. I said, hey, can I grab a quick copy of it? It'll help me learn it.
No, just kidding.
She says, yeah, you know, swing by my house. In those days, we were, you know, the neighborhood was close enough I could have walked to her house. So I jogged down to the house. Oh, thanks for the tape. I took it home, slapped it in the player. There we
go.
Yeah, play the whole thing. I'm ready by the next day. The rest is history. I show up to Friday. I am in a band that tours and plays Godspell with this girl that I was really into. And within a couple of weeks, we were dating. And I will just share this because it's a little bit of music trivia. She said, hey, do you want to come over to my house on Wednesday after school? There's this new thing. It's a channel. And what they do is they play music the whole time. It's
MTV?
called MTV.
I remember when that came out. I'm old.
Yep. And I went down into her basement, right? And we saw it from the very beginning. The first song was Video Killed the Radio Star.
Killed the Radio Star.
And by the third one, which I can still remember which song it was She Blinded Me with Science.
Yep.
You know, when he said she blinded me, I reached over and kissed her.
Aww.
Him. So romantic.
That's adorable.
And we were together about 2.5 years, 3 years. So that's my story of how it led me into playing bass professionally.
That's cool.
And there's an element that I left out, which is when I got to the church, there was a guitar player. And he had this long hair and this leather. No, we ended up forming a band. And
okay.
He probably is not watching this, but his name was Scott Heaps, and that's how I met Scott. And we were the first members of the Addicts. Was the band that we formed. That's the Addicts with 2 X's, because you want to be super hardcore. And we were the only true thrash metal band in the land. And we started out.
Did you have long hair back then too?
Oh yeah. Sure.
Oh yeah.
We're gonna have to find that picture.
I know. I was like, we're gonna need some pictures, Tim. I want to see.
There's a couple
thrash metal days.
Yeah, you're gonna be surprised. Like it was a thing. We had like promo shots, and we got an album out there somewhere. It's on Metal Blade Records. If you guys want to look it up,
Hold on.
Yeah. How are you not offering this for like an add-on for your Kickstarter?
What, Carissa? What?
This should be an add-on for a Kickstarter. Get the album that started it all. I mean, come on.
Yeah, it was a compilation. It's Metal Massacre 10, and our song is called it was Visions in Secret. It's pretty good.
What's it called? What do I need to search on there?
Look for Metal Massacre 10. You know, I bet you I could find it on YouTube. And I'll send you a link right here.
Like type faster. Go.
Yeah.
Oh, there it is. I found it.
Oh, I'll share it.
Okay. I'll get the link and send it in the chat for people if they want to hear. Oh, yeah, that's it. Because you see what happens, these old 80s songs, people find them and they're like into it. So they post them on YouTube. All right, guys, here you go. If you want to listen to Visions in Secret by ROT. And by the way, ROT, right? In those days, this is hard to explain now. It was considered edgy to have band names that were initials. This was during the days of DRI, MOD, SOD. We were ROT. And what you did is you changed what it meant every release. Like the first, it was the Reign of Terror. Then it was the Risk of Technology. Then it was the Revolution over Tyranny.
Edgy.
Yeah, edgy, right? And it was slightly punky, which I always, like to bring it up because there's so many passionate fans out there that love punk music, and they are having like a resurgence in the punk scene, and they even make books about punk music. So I'd love to just add my thoughts. Punk sucks. Stop doing it. It was bad then, and it's bad now. We're not pretending. The reason why punk died the first time is because the music was bad. So hear it from your pal, Tim. Stop doing it. No one likes it. I told you I was going to drop some bombs on the show.
Yeah.
Don't let your friends do punk rock.
I love it by watching you. So.
Yeah, and the thing is what those people like, and by the way, I'm not taking anything away from, I'm trying to be funny. If people like, people are allowed to like what they like. But what they like is the persona that goes with punk and the accoutrements. The music is uncategorically bad. Like remember in those days, it was even kind of considered cool to not tune up and to not play correctly. Like what? No.
I think I went to a performance once and it was in a coffee shop and they were punk-ish. I don't even know if you would call them punk. I don't even remember the name of the band, But we all showed up for this performance, and on the second song, the guitarist smashed his guitar on the floor.
That's normal stuff, man. Normal
I know,
stuff.
but it's like, that's a second song, dude. Now you're done. You didn't bring an extra. What do we drive all this way for?
Right.
You're done. You're not playing anymore. They all looked at him like he was a freaking idiot.
Well,
like,
and
not
it
great.
would be popular to say, Laurie, and by the way, thanks for giving me a chance to talk about music.
Yeah,
As
absolutely.
you can tell, I really love it, right?
Yeah.
Now,
I'm a
it would
musician
be,
as well. I just don't play any. I wish I had time to play.
well,
But
Laurie, start. What are you doing? What are you doing?
I know. What I should do is just get the cello out and have it out. But when it's in the case and it's in the closet, you forget about it.
Listen, I'm gonna hold you to it. Are you a good cello player?
Actually,
Pretty good?
yes. I
Do
played
you want
all
to play
the
on
way.
one of our? You want to play on one of our tracks?
Yes. Yeah, I have an electric cello, Tim.
wow.
I have an acoustic and an electric cello. I played all the way through college. I actually went into college as a music major.
No kidding. Do
Yeah,
you read music?
of course. Yeah, I read treble clef, bass clef, alto clef, tenor clef. I'm a little out of practice, but yes, I can read music.
Same here. Look, I say it like I'm. Listen, don't hear that I'm saying I can read music so well, because now I'm at the level where, like I say, if I sit down with a piece of sheet music, it'll take me 3 days to learn it. Or if I hear it on the radio, 5 minutes later, I can sit right in.
You're more of an audio learner, and I can do both. I can listen to the music and figure out on my own instrument. And I dabble in piano as well. So I had a keyboard. So a lot of times, like if I was listening to the radio and I was trying to transcribe for the cello, I would do it on the piano and then transcribe it and then play. One of my comic books, I wrote music in it. It's an Easter egg. It's the Good, the Bad, and the Ugly soundtrack.
Oh, cool.
That
I know
one,
it.
right?
Yeah.
But
Sergio
nobody
Morco.
knew what it was. So I also put the QR code because I was like, I did a beta test. I was like, all right, tell me what this is, everybody. And everybody's like, happy
In the ghetto.
Well, and I wanted to. I know people are.
Rickrolled them. That was the perfect opportunity for you to rickroll everyone that read your comic. But
That's a pretty good one.
No, I rickrolled them on the third one.
Okay, that's good.
On the cover, on the back cover, you know how we do all the riddles? And I had all the QR codes. The very first one, if you QR code the first one, it's a rickroll because I
Nice.
have a sense of humor.
Quentin.
It's funny.
So
Look, it's
people
Quentin.
like to say things like, well, hey, what's up, Quentin?
Hey,
People like to
what?
say things like, well, the punk rock and metal are cousins and they're so similar because of the aggression in the music. But
Yeah.
that's not true, and it's not even slightly true. And I'm going to tell you why.
Why? The origins were separate or?
No, the origins are right there close together. But
Yeah.
the thing about metal musicians, to a T, they take pride in their musicianship. And what I mean by this, like if you sit down with a metal guitarist and you say something like, well, I'm looking for a Phrygian scale right there, or maybe something in a suspended, he'll go, oh, and he'll know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Where if you say that to a punk musician, they'll go, what? No, I'm just going to smash it against it. Like they don't have the musical knowledge.
They
and
don't care. It's the attitude.
It's the attitude. And it was almost a badge of pride to make these terrible sounding songs. And people say, well, I don't like metal because they're terrible sounding. But the truth is, the musicianship on the songs, even most metal songs, approaches the level of virtuoso style playing. It's
they are
just
technically difficult to perform.
Right. And they're generally, and of course, there's lots of types of bands. There's lots of like in those days, it was considered cool to be what they call a guitar hero. And what they mean by that is that you could play these really impossible to play passages and very fast. And we had guys like Eddie Van Halen and Steve Vai, and there's just so many great players. We could make a whole list of just that. But the truth is that punk doesn't have anything like that. And there's no one that ever picked up an instrument and said, I want to play like that punk guy. And that's the reason why it died, it's because the songs were bad.
There was obviously somebody because they kept coming up with new punk bands, but it's just because
hold on a second.
Well, if you can do it, I can do it.
Let me
the
clarify.
answer is yes. You'd have to have no musical skill to do punk rock.
Well, and let me clarify. When I say that, I'm not talking about bands like Green Day, Blink 182, because sometimes, people will say those are punk bands, but they're not. Those are pop bands.
Yeah, agreed.
And their songs are actually pretty good.
Usually, if they're around for a little while, they have some kind of skill.
Yeah.
Otherwise, they wouldn't still be here.
I wouldn't
Right.
say that. There's some that don't have any skill. I don't know how they get anything, but yeah.
Those are usually like the solo artists to me. Like they're an image, they're a product. They're purchased by the label company and they just become what the label company wants them to. A lot of musicians, they have a hard time with the label because the label's trying to put them in a box.
Right.
You need to create this more like this so it sells more. And then there's a lot of pushback. I love 9 Inch Nails. I love all sorts of music. Like someone was asking me, like, what's 2 contradicting types of music that you love?
Yeah,
And I was
Nita,
like, I
right?
love,
Nita Lanning.
yes,
Yeah,
I'm
she's
that
cool,
post-
by the way. I
exactly.
love her.
And
Yeah.
I put Yo-Yo Ma and 9 Inch Nails. Those are
Oh, nice.
2 like I love
I love
cello.
9 Inch Nails.
Obviously, I love cello music. I'm a cellist. And Yo-Yo Ma is kind of like at the top of his game to the point where we went to a Yo-Yo Ma concert. He didn't even play the cello. We paid money to see the most famous cellist in the world not play the cello at the
What was
concert.
it? Was it
Oh,
like an autograph session or something? Or
No, he played the piano, which I had no idea he could do. He talked about like philanthropy and all sorts of stuff. At the very end, he did play the cello, but for a majority of the time we were there, he didn't. It was bizarre, and I've seen him.
Yeah,
What's
that
that?
was me with Weird Al. We went to go see Weird Al to see
Yeah.
all the songs, and he didn't play any parody songs.
See what I mean?
Yeah, not all.
Weird. But like some musicians, when they get so high up there, they're living art. They become something other than I don't know. There's something else. You know what I mean? So that's where Yo-Yo Ma is. And then of course 9 Inch Nails, Trent Reznor is amazing music creator.
yeah,
Watch some kind, it's I forget the name of the documentary, but there's a ton of documentaries about him. But like his label was just like, we can't produce anything you just gave us. It's crap. And he was like, why did you sign me? Why am I here? I want to make music the way I want to make music, and the people are buying it. And so he made so much angry music because he had just so many problems with the publisher. A lot of the music, the angry music, is about the label because they were trying to conform him to what was already done, and he didn't want to do it. So same thing, like how there's a label there, like we all have Marvel and DC, and then he went outside of them, and now he has his own production company, and he just releases music to the internet, and people can buy it directly from him.
right.
That's the goal, isn't it? For us
It is.
too.
It is.
So
And
there's
it's
a lot of connections with creatives across music and comics. So
I
then this
just
leads
finished
me to the next line of questioning is, how did you go from musician to comic writer?
That's a great question. You know, I will tell you,
I'm a girl.
you know, I guess I'll say, because as you guys know, it wasn't until much later in my life that I started making comics, right? This is,
Right.
you know, we're kind of being funny, but I'm not exaggerating. This was 30 some years ago. I was a musician. And you know, I've always enjoyed music, but I quickly found that to answer the question, first, I'll tell you how I knew I had to stop music.
Hi,
This
Mr.
would about-
Nobody, by the
This
way.
would have been
Sorry.
about 1989 or so. And, you know, when you're going on tour and, you know, you're in the van and you're sleeping in these dumps and, you know, typically I would share a bed with the drummer, and it wasn't a very prestigious lifestyle for us, this life on the road.
Right.
And also there's tons of drugs and alcohol, and I'm very susceptible to addictive behaviors.
Okay.
Okay. I'm very cognizant of it. And I knew that, you know, I'm not going to be able to do this. This isn't who I am, right? And by the way, there are lots of talented touring musicians that are not strung out on drugs. I do not mean to say that all of them are, but in the 80s, pretty much all of them were. So, and that's just, not too many people will probably dispute that. That's just the way the world was back then. But so, you know, fast forward to the future, and I had always been a comic book fan. And I'd always been, in those days, I was a short story writer. And I told Carissa this, so sorry about hearing this part twice, but
I just love listening to you talk.
I do too. You're fine.
You're very sweet. You're very sweet. So I've been writing short stories for a number of years and really not getting too much traction. And like I say, that's a different path, right? Like you submit stories to anthologies and you join contests and things like that. But short stories, you're really not ringing the bell. It's hard to break into and say, I'm a short story writer, right?
Yeah.
So in the meanwhile, this is we skipped over this part, but I've been in sales a long time, and that's what I did instead of being in the music business. And
Music
depending
sales. Okay.
on your interpretation, some people might say I was successful in sales. Okay. So I fast forward to the, closer to now, and I always wanted to have my own comic book store. It's a lifelong dream, right? And so we're going to open up our comic book store, and it's going to be the nicest one in town. And it has this great big sign, and man, we got signings and artists and all this cool stuff, and it's going great. And just about a year and a half into it is when I had my divorce.
Oh.
And my ex-wife got the comic book store in the settlement.
What?
Yeah.
Why?
Yeah. Well, that's
How'd that work out?
well, I don't want to.
Yeah. You don't have to air dirty laundry, but that's
I don't mind. Some of it you can answer without disparaging anybody. And I want to point out that it's not. Look, now it's in the rear view. Yeah, I just look and say, well, that's just something I did once. You know what I mean? But it'd be fair to say that was very painful for me. And
yeah.
I felt like my identity had been stripped from me. And
Quentin's with us. What the?
yeah. Well, and a little bit, somebody's like, well, it's a little bit like having somebody kill your baby. You know what I mean? Because
yes, that's what I'm saying. Like, what if it was your dog that you took care of and the other person didn't even participate and they awarded the dog? You see what I mean? Like,
well, and
why?
You can't really blame her. It was bringing in something like $15,000 a month.
So it was the monetary amount, and that's
Right.
why it was determined. But still, it's like
You could have got a percentage of that instead of getting it.
Well, do I want to have a
Be a lawyer next time.
No, I think I did okay.
No, next time. Don't get divorced.
I went through a divorce too, but I got lucky in my divorce. So,
well, and by the way, I've got a lot of respect for you guys, but I think it'd be a pretty fair assessment that generally speaking, the woman comes out on the better end of the divorce.
I'm never getting divorced. My husband's stuck with me.
Yeah, my husband's screwed. But my last husband, I actually gave him more because he had nothing, and I felt guilty about it because I wanted the divorce. So I actually got him his own apartment. I paid first and last month's rent. I let him keep the dog. I let him do all this stuff. I bought him a car. I gifted the car to him so he wouldn't have to pay tax on it. And then the asshole went and sold it while I still owed money on it. And he sold it for less than what I owed when it was worth like 3 times more. We're on good terms now because my husband feels bad for him all the time. But back then we got in a huge fight in the parking lot because he comes with this rusty pickup truck after selling my Honda Accord that I still owed like $8,000 on, and he sold the Honda Accord for $4,000 when it was worth $12,000, and just so he could buy this rusted pickup truck because he decided to start hunting. So that was that fun stuff. So he definitely made out better with that whole thing. So.
I'd say that's among the rare versions. Yeah, like I would say, generally speaking,
the girl does win out.
You're right. Yeah.
We love Nita on this show. Nita, we love you. Your antics make us all laugh. And
I have. By the way, since that came up organically, could I mention something? I had a little bit of a health scare about 2.5 months ago, and I dropped out of Facebook and I dropped out of podcasting for about a month. And there were only 3 people that checked on me. And it was Carissa, Laurie C, and Nita Lanning. Thank you, ladies, for your care.
Excuse me, but I checked on you, my
Actually,
friend.
Pops did too, yeah. Not to take anything away from Pops.
Yeah, I remember the girls. That's
you got him to pop in. Congratulations.
Yeah. Shout out to Pops. He did check him. I didn't mean to take anything. I was more trying to show love to the
I know, but I care about my people, man. You know,
you do,
about you, and I was checking on you on the rig.
Poor Tim.
We're
glad you're back though and healthy. You
thanks.
great.
Yeah, thank you muchly. So what happened was, so here's me. This is at this time I had moved to Florida, and I'm in the throes of this divorce, and it'd be fair to say it was pretty painful for me. I lost everything. Okay.
Yeah.
And you go through a couple of months where you're just feeling sorry for yourself, right? And or at least I did. Oh, life's over. I lost everything, blah, blah, blah. And of course, that's not really true. That's just the way you feel, right?
Right.
So one of the things I went back into writing, and in those days, I have a little bit of a connection to some animation through my cousin. He's a director. And I was writing what they call pitches for animated series.
Okay.
And what they do is you write a script that's very similar to a comic script. And then you submit it to a guy who's your pitch guy. And then he goes into a room full of suits and he's like kind of animated and there's music and stuff. And he tries to sell your idea to the group. And I did okay. My property, which is it is available in comic form, that's Socket, which that's my title that didn't sell too well. But the truth is, this is how I learned to do it. So I'm writing animated scripts for Socket and sending them to these pitches. And in those days, it was for a TV network that's not around anymore. It was called Spike TV. I don't know if you remember Spike TV at all.
I remember Spike TV.
Yeah.
Hi, Ronnie. Good morning.
And what they were doing, they did a little bit of what you and I would probably call mature animation, which was there was one called Gary the Rat, and that was Kelsey Grammer. He had a TV show called Frasier.
Yeah.
And then there was one called Stripperella, and that was Pamela Anderson's.
Right.
It was like a stripper that had the powers. And then there was a reboot that was The New Adventures of Ren and Stimpy, which were coming around again. That's Bob Camp's property. He's a hell of a nice guy. I've met him a couple times. And then number 4, and 3 were going to get in. Number 4 was Socket. I got right to the line, and I was the one cut. I was bad.
Oh, yeah. Come on.
So Socket never got on the air, but I got some experience, and I got to write a little bit. I got to write some of the interstitials for the animated version of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Yes.
Yeah, that was kind of popular.
I was going to say, this is the defining moment I can tell where you got bit by the bug.
Right. And so and by the way, all the dust settled and it didn't get picked up. So now here's me, right? I'm in Florida. I'm by myself. I'm depressed. My life's over. And I'm at a free comic book day. And that is where I met Martin Dunn, who I sometimes call the Godfather, because if it wasn't for him, none of this would have happened. And we were hanging out and he had all these comic tattoos on his arm. And one of them was Miracle Man. And as I've told some people before, I'm a huge Miracle Man fan. And it's a little bit of an obscure property. It's one of the titles that broke Alan Moore into the big leagues.
Yes.
And I said, man, are you a Miracle Man guy? I blah, 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 blah. What do you do? And he says, well, I'm a comic publisher. I represent CAE and we make comics. And I was like, oh, wow. And I said, I'm a writer, I write scripts and stuff. And I told him about being, rejected, which, in case it seems,
it's fine.
Yeah. I want to say to people that are listening, hey man, being rejected is part of the process. It's like having haters, right? I'm a fan of both.
And trolls. They show up.
Yeah. And by the way, I'll tell you about my haters then too. I got a couple.
Oh, good.
So he said, well, we got all these artists over
Tim
here.
Have hate.
And
it's
one
like,
of them
how
is
can
from
anybody hate
Venezuela.
Carissa? And how can anybody hate Tim? These people are like the nicest people in comics, but yet there's haters out, and I have haters too.
Yeah.
I don't know how that's possible.
It's a thing. It's part of the world, right?
Yeah.
So
continue.
He goes, well, I got these artists and stuff. He goes, well, we're short on his writers. He said, you ought to let me take a look at a script sometime. Yes. All right, cool, man. And we exchanged emails, and I emailed him the script for Socket, which, for those of you who don't know, Socket is it's a little bit along the lines of more like comedy, but it's an all robot rock band. It is a metal band.
Comedy is hard to write.
Yeah, it is. It is. The saving grace of comedy is if you do it poorly, at least no one will be laughing at you.
Yeah. There you go.
Ouch.
Yeah. So, in this case, it's relatively easy this is one man's opinion. It's easy to draft a animation script into a comic script because they're already boarded, if you know what I mean. Right. I'm not sure how you guys write your stuff, but I board all my own panels, right?
Novels. Oh, I have to write it first as novels and then put into panels. That's
yeah. Where I was going with that is novels. Yeah, it's a very different experience.
Well,
right?
I don't board Path. I did board, like I did the traditional comic book style for Psycho Sal. So yes and no. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't.
I am all for giving artists a little bit room for creative interpretation. But if you look at the greats, Alan Moore, Grant Morrison, Bendis, they don't do that. They board the panels themselves. The camera's over the shoulder. The next one's 100. It's very specific.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mine is more generalized than specific. I tell him what needs to be in a panel. I give him 4 panels. Bless you. I give him 4 panels, and then he turns it into like 9. He does his thing. So my artist, we have an in-between thing. That actually started off us being really raunchy because I was like, "What the hell are you doing?" But he knew better than I did, even though it was his first job, so it worked out.
Unless I
Well,
miss my
and
guess,
that's
we'll change that because that'll
that's
work against you.
yeah, sometimes. But I think like with Marco has a degree in comics. That's what he went to school for. And for me, it's like I know some screen production and like angles and stuff, but a lot of times he comes up with much more dynamic ideas than I ever would. So a lot of times we'll talk through what's important in the script and like what I have in mind. And he makes it much more interesting than I could.
Yeah.
Well, I work with some of the greats in the industry too, but I that's one man's opinion. I wouldn't do it
Yeah.
that way. I'd recommend to not do it that way. But
Gotcha.
you know, circling back around is I send them the script, right? And
Yeah,
I
yeah.
didn't think too much of it. Remember, I'm not anybody, right? I don't have any kind of name or following, and this is even yeah, I'm not even following anybody
Nice.
else. A couple of months go by, nothing happens. I still remember it like yesterday. It's almost Halloween. Sun's going down, man. Orange lights pouring through the window. My phone rings. It's Martin Dunn.
Yeah.
Tim, it's Martin Dunn at CAE. We're going to make your book. Are you ready?
Yeah.
What?
You're like,
It
no.
was, it
You're
was
like,
a thrill,
wait, what
right?
does that mean to me? What do I do? What do I have to think? You know,
Right.
what do I
Now,
have to
and by the way, this is how I learned it because in those days I hadn't done enough prep work, but maybe we can come back to that.
Yeah.
So they make the first issue of Socket, and Martin did a kind of thing. And I hope he sees this because this is why I call him the Godfather. His company did a thing they called the Bullpen, and it was at his home in Brooksville, Florida. And I used to drive up there every week, and it was kind of like a class. You could sit in, and it was like 5 or 6 of us maybe. And, you know, colorists were there and letterers and artists, and there was a couple of writers. But basically, you could get in and people were making the sausage in there, and you could learn how comics were made. And there's me, nerdy guy. I'm sitting there with my laptop. Like if you see these old pictures of me, it's me sitting there with my laptop, and I always look like I don't fit in, as you know. And I just
No.
look like the biggest nerd. And there's me. I'm at comic making school.
You know, that's your imposter syndrome right there.
Yeah. Thanks.
I
for
mean, that's how we all are. Where I'm like,
yeah,
look
yeah,
at this
I got it
picture.
bad.
One of us doesn't belong in this picture, and it's me. But that's all internal. You look at the picture, it would be like, look at these professionals.
Right, exactly. Well said, Laurie. Thank you for saying that. And you know, so you know, I went to the first couple of them, and here this book comes out the other end. And
Yeah.
at that time, Martin was moving on to
So
some new
funny.
things. He eventually,
Sausage making comic book, whatever.
yeah, you know what I'm
It
saying.
works.
Well, he ended up going into the music business, and he's a successful musician now. And
That's
You
funny.
went backwards.
Yeah.
guys said it.
yeah, he was the opposite of me, right?
Yeah.
And he'll be mad for what I said about punk music too. They're a punk. But they're like a melodic. They're like Blink 182 or.
I mean, I
Green Day.
did mention that Tim was a villain when we started.
Yeah.
Well, so what happened was they made this first issue, and it came out pretty decent. You know, it's very, in my eyes, looking back, it's very rookie and very crude, right?
But
Yeah.
that's how we always look back at issue
On your-
one.
at your
It's
first
like
project,
at the
yeah.
moment you're so proud of it. Like, look what we did. This is so awesome.
Look,
Look what
Laurie
we
and my
accomplished. What's that?
Lori and my dots. I used to have dots for everything, and Lori hated it. Now I gotta do less dots.
Carissa loves ellipses.
Yeah.
Ellipses.
That's how I write. I don't know why. Everything I write, no one's ever going to see the novels I write ever, but there are tons in there. And Lori does not like them. So
Like,
I think
take 90% of these out. And then there was one time I was like, all right, okay,
she added one time.
add an ellipses here.
Yeah.
Like the only place you didn't put it, that's where it makes sense. But it's just so funny to look back at our issue. Like we're reworking our issue one right now. You know what I mean? Where we've gone back and re-lettered, and we had Matt Chambers color it. So it's like you're so proud of it in the moment, and then when you get some experience, you look back and you're like, "Ooh, I could have done all of these things better."
Well, you can tell
I have a statement I'd like to add to that.
Yeah.
Lori, did you redo your issue one?
Yeah.
Then everybody went back and remastered.
Well,
it,
we
right?
didn't redo the art because the art
let's
is,
remaster his.
I mean, it's Marco. It's fabulous, right? But I redid my letters because I was brand new at lettering at that time. And then we couldn't afford a colorist at that time. So I had Matt Chambers, who is our current colorist, go back and add his colors on top of Marco's ink work. So yes, we redid it. We enhanced it, but the art itself is the same. Does that
I
make
redid
sense?
it three times. I
Yours
redid.
is different. She is redone like top to bottom.
Yeah.
Changed out artists, changed panels, changed script. Everything is different.
Do you ever
So-
see Action
Have
Comics
you
number
done
one?
that?
You ever
What's
see
that?
Action Comics number one?
Action
Not in
Comics number
person.
1?
Yeah, you ever seen it? It's
I
the
didn't
first-
understand. Say it again.
Have you ever seen Action Comics number one?
Mm-mm.
It's the first appearance of Superman.
Superman.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
You've seen it, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
You ever seen Detective Comics number 27?
The first one of Batman.
Yeah.
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 You've seen them, right? Or haven't you?
I've seen the art cut. Yeah.
Yeah. Did they strike you as being particularly sophisticated?
No.
Would
I
you
liked it when I
describe
was
them
8.
as? Did you describe them as crude?
Yeah, probably unrefined.
Yeah.
No.
So
People still
So-
sell them as is. That's the thing. It's like part of the history.
Right. And again, hey, it's one man's opinion. You guys do what you want.
You
But
can see
no, don't
Laurie's
do that.
script notes from the first book to issue 8, where she's like, these are the only. She's like, there's not many corrections this time. There was like, what, 5 suggestions this time instead of like 3 pages of things that I should change
Yeah.
or do
One
or
thing that I
whatever.
do for Carissa that I don't know if people are aware of is I'm listed as
Yeah.
script supervisor. So a lot of times I'll read her script and I'll just make suggestions of like if there's a repetitive phrase being used or like maybe, you know,
too many times.
punctuation wise, stuff like that. But she's grown so much as a writer where it's like it was pages in the beginning where it's like ellipses, take all these stupid ellipses out, right? And now it's just like half the time when I write her comments, I'm like, this is a really nice moment. Nothing.
Yeah. You liked 2 in the last one. There was an awe moment and a funny moment you liked. I don't remember what they were, but I do remember you
Yeah.
saying it. Yeah.
And then there's like little fixes here and there, but it's just like, hey, I really like this, but why don't we reword it to sound a little more memorable? Blah blah blah.
I'm
you know?
dyslexic, so I'm lucky there isn't like a novel full of changes. So,
But I
because-
think, you know, in her situation where she had a different artist that maybe wasn't as invested into Worthy Cast as Jonas is, that I think when Jonas and Carissa, with all their growth, redid issue 1, I think it made a big difference.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people are starting the series with their issue 1. So in my opinion, the reason why we redid it is because we're going to go into a trade, right? And the trade paperback is 1, 2, 3, and 4. And it would be weird to have like 24 pages of black and white and then the rest of it's in color.
I agree.
Oh yeah. There's no need to not be color. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
So that was part of it. And plus,
too.
But
Yeah, and I
let
changed
me
my
answer the
lettering
question
style,
an easy
too.
way. You see the comment there from Quentin. True or false? Action Comics number 1 is the holy grail of comic books.
false.
Well, let's be honest. That's what a $3 million book or something. I'm a comic book collector. I would say that's probably I'd say that's a true statement.
You think it's true?
I don't
Yeah,
like
well,
Superman.
What would you put in its place?
Does there have to be a holy grail of comics? Can't we
Well,
just
if you're
appreciate comics as an evolutionary process like everything else is?
Well,
Does there have
no,
to be a
because
holy
he's asking
grail of
you.
film?
He's asking you a question. So
Well, that's why I said false,
Yeah.
because I don't think any one comic could be a holy grail. I think that comics in of itself is an evolutionary process. It's the growth of humans. It's how we see the world. It's how we see each other and conflict and heroes, and all of that is a
Right.
very complex idea.
As
pick
a comic collector, one that is a huge comic collector, that would be the holy grail. Maybe not our personal holy grail.
Oh, as a collector,
Right.
yeah.
As a collector, that is the whole, that and the first Spider-Man, all the first appearances. I mean, I had the first appearance of Harley Quinn and it was stolen. So I don't have that. Yeah. Yeah. So mine was stolen. I didn't even know about it until like 10 years after, and I knew exactly who it was.
Oh, mother.
When I found out it was $900, like, oh, I have that. And then I was like, I don't have it.
No, I don't.
anymore. Yeah.
Well, and I was trying to tie it into my answer, which is this,
sorry.
is that if you look at people that have, they just finished Action 1000, right? It's at 1,000 some issues. It's probably closer to 1,200 now.
Damn.
But if you look at Action 1200 and then look at Action 1 with its crudity and simple panels and basic lettering, the crudity and the basic premise of it, that's what collectors love. They look back and they go, wow, look at how basic and raw and
like
crude this
yours.
is. Yeah, it's a little bit like, you know, I guess the easiest way to say is that is actually what the fans like. They like to see the growth.
You know,
But as a collector, wouldn't you also? What if they were still printing action number
as-
1?
They
as
are still
is?
they are still printing it as
They're
is.
still printing it.
Yeah.
that doesn't count. But I
Yeah.
have to say, like, I was really surprised that. So I had issue one, like the first issue 1. I had 50 copies made. I sold, I think, like 30 for Kickstarter. My very first Kickstarter that brought in $899. And I hadn't been on any shows or anything. So I guess that was pretty good. However, I still had 15, I have math, 20 issues left.
Math.
And, yeah, math. And people, I didn't realize that people wanted it. So like I had been told that I need to post it on there, even though I don't like the art and I didn't like anything about it actually. They bought it.
Part of
They
the
bought-
history.
Yeah, they bought it. My mom framed it, which I'm so mad about. Whatever, she framed it, and people bought it recently, like as an add-on. I had it as an add-on, and people are buying the PDF of it, and people bought the printed version. And I'm almost done. I think I have like, I don't know, 5 left. I think, if even. I don't even know if I have that much. I don't even know if I have a copy.
Well, I think it's part of the collectability. Like we're still printing the black and white original version of the comic of our issue 1. And we won't switch over to the color until after the trade gets printed.
Don't tell us the secret. No, she's not printing it at all. Buy the trade.
What?
I said you're not printing it at all. Buy the trade. You don't tell them.
Well, no, it's not available until after the trade is available.
Yeah.
See what I'm saying? So if people want to see the color, they want to see it at all, they need to get the trade in one collection. And we will think about printing it afterwards for when we release issue number 5. But I would think people would prefer the trade, just because it's a whole it goes a lot, you know what I mean? Like my story is one cohesive. It's not like issue 1 and then there's a finale, and then it's like issue 2 picks up and there's another you know what I mean? They're not standalone stories. Especially 3 and 4 are basically one scene.
I was impressed
then it
with
continues.
Mindstone too. I didn't think anyone would buy the hardcover. I was actually really surprised. I don't know. I
crazy.
figured they all bought it in single version. Why do you want that? I love the hardcover, the cover. This is like I read it like 4 times already. Like I am obsessed with this book, but I just did not think that I was like, oh, these people. I didn't like. Usually I bug people to be like, don't forget my Kickstarter's there. I didn't bug anybody because I figured they all had it and I felt bad. So I actually did not like torture people to go pledge.
There's something about having it all in one place, I think, in my opinion. I love a good trade. I have the Walking Dead omnibus, the big ones. I love them. The black and white ones. You know what I mean? I think that there's something to be said about being able to sit down and just read it all at once. It's like binging Netflix. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, I mean I love it because personally, as a me goal, it's more permanent. Not to say anything against fluffies. I'm reading his damn thing. Not anything to say against floppies. But,
the new name for floppies is here on out fluffies.
Yeah,
Would you like a fluffy?
Yeah. So
that's not to be misunderstood with the fluffer. That is a profession.
Yeah. No fluffing here. But I go back and forth. My self-esteem goes back and forth.
You're right there,
anyone,
What's that?
He's not even listening. I made a fluffer joke and you didn't even react to it. So I was
I'm just letting you have your moment.
So like I always thought like I would go back and forth and say floppy. Anyone could make, you know, the floppies or whatever, and then I go back like, well, I have a flop. Like I go back and forth on how special this was. But when the hardcover came out, I was like, this is so permanent of a you know, you don't just like when I gave it to the actors from Supernatural, I would feel that they wouldn't throw it away, whereas I gave them one of the fluffies. They would definitely probably not. Yeah.
But here's the other thing with the trade or the hardcover is that they can go in libraries, they can go in bookstores. Like Barnes and Noble is not going to carry a fluffy, but they will carry a trade paperback.
Yeah.
Right. So there's more opportunities when you do a trade as opposed to a fluffy. Now, I'd like to bring the conversation back here to Tim for a minute, and I'd like to talk about Water Wars because Tim, I'm like, so you write horror. This I would consider all of these horror, but Tim and I both write in this post-apocalyptic world. And we talked about post-apocalypse before and how it kind of draws. I don't know, it just draws me, that whole genre. And I feel like Westerns was kind of like the gateway drug into apocalypse. But what is it like? Tell us specifically the pitch for Waterworlds, and like, I want to get into that. Like, let's start talking about Waterworlds, and I'm going to bring in your kicks. I want to show people some cool stuff you got on there, man. Really nice.
I guess the first thing to tie it together, I should admit, like I'm talking about Socket. That was my title that didn't do well. Right?
Yeah.
So,
right.
And here's exactly what happened. We went and, we made the first one with the studio, and then we made the second one. And I said, I'm going to do this on my own. Cause now I found an artist that I wanted to work with and a colorist, cause I had learned how to do it. Right. And
right.
I didn't think that having a publisher helped me too much, because I noticed that, marketing is one of the biggest parts, right, of the book. And I didn't, and again, I'm not ripping on them, but it wasn't like they were putting my book on the front page of everything. And so I said, well, I'll do one of my own. And I made number 2, and then I was starting to get a little better at it. And we started number 3, and that came out pretty good. And we just went back and we said, let's start to remaster number 1. And I'm going through it and I'm redoing the colors and illustrating the pages and this and that. And I'm looking at it. And that's when I went, you know what? Why am I doing this? This is the one that's not selling very well. I'm investing time like propping up the house and fixing the foundation of a house, when really maybe what I need is a new house.
Yeah.
So I said, you know what? Let's sit right down. And I said, and I can remember talking to a couple of the artists. I said, let's do this. Let's hire the best artists we can afford. Let's do the best stories we can make, professional letter, professional design, and we'll just make the best looking book that we can do. And that was Water Wars 2288, number 1. That was 2019.
What year was that? When
2019. It was about 4 years ago.
Oh my God, 2019, 4 years ago.
Don't focus on that. I know, it's like someone was like, we're Johnny the Machine Hughes was on last week, and he was like, we're reviewing books from 20 years ago, and that's like, in the 1990s. And I just about left the show. I was like, good night, everybody. Tip your waitress. I'm old. Bye. Click. 20 years ago, man.
Yeah.
Anyway,
so
sorry.
We took it to the convention. That was Baltimore Comic-Con at 2019. And of course, I was promoting. And of course, I just got my little table. I've only got 4 books. It was 3 issues of Socket and 1 issue of Water Wars. And right away, people were like, what's this? What's this? It was very well received right away. And I can remember like Source Point Press guys came up, and there was a couple of publishers, and they were like, hey, this is really good. Hey, would you consider Broken Icon? Would you consider submitting this to us? And that was the first time when I went, man, I don't think they're doing any better than I am. I'm just going to make these myself, right? And then so we doubled down, number 2, number 3, number 4. Then we started the Chronicle series. Like every time one was successful, I would double down and make another one.
Yeah.
And then shortly after that, about a year after that, I discovered Kickstarter. And the first Kickstarter was it's the Hunchback book, which is also very well received, and that's been published through Antarctic Press as well. And but right away, people are like, whoa, this is really good. You know what I mean? So I started getting a little bit of traction, and you get in the previews catalog, and everything starts to sort of get a life of its own, right? And then I started to say things like, well, if I do conventions, I'm going to do the double table, and I'm going to hire a staff, and I'm going to do 10-foot banners, and I'm going to, by the way, Rob Multari helped me with that. If you guys know Rob, because
Rob is awesome.
Yeah. You got to have a good, you got to have a good presence.
The right way where you see if it's well received, unlike me, that just keeps making them, whether you like them or not. It's like, so do the way Tim does it and not the way I do it. Yeah.
Moving on. Tim and I are both like, we love you anyways. You make your books how you want to make your books. That's the story of life. So anyway.
I'm quick to point out, I don't make my books for an audience.
Yeah. I make me for them for me.
I mean, there's something to be said about. There's been some debate on, do you write stuff because it's marketable? Do you write stuff for you? Do you write stuff that tries to like push the envelope? Like, whoa, that's, I think, probably a whole nother show we could do on that topic about why do you write.
I'll give you a brief answer. Because I'll tie it into my thing from before. The reason why I got into writing, of course, I had just lost my comic book store. And I can remember
Right.
starting down and starting the script, and I wanted to make something that could not be taken from me.
Amen, brother.
So no
I
matter,
wanted there to be something that was still left of me when I died.
right. It's
You
the
know?
creative
I did
thing,
not
right?
think hard about it at all. So yeah, but you guys, like I said, you're more how you should do it than
Did you
me.
know how they say like
No,
you
I
die,
couldn't
your
do it.
first death when your body dies, and
I
your
know this
second
one.
death is when
You
people
say your
You
forget
name.
watching Coco? Have you
stop
been
saying
watching
your
Coco?
name.
Yeah.
But it's like if you write something that people can consume, it's like, can you live forever?
Yeah. That's exactly right. So I didn't, the simple truth of it is the early issues, I'm able to look back on them and realize that they're not very good, particularly in the Socket series. But on the other hand, you go and look at
Waterworld.
Action 1, and it's Action
Yeah.
Comics #1. People pay $3 million for that book. And 84 years later, you can still buy a copy on the stands. So,
That's
it kind of bears it out, right? So, and I could be wrong, but I think fans like to see the crudity, and I think they like to see the growth. I think that's part of their thing. Thanks, Quentin. Yeah, it's been a couple of years now, so I'm all good. And in case I didn't mention too, I'm remarried and the whole bit. Matter of fact, my lovely bride is over there making dumplings right now. Hi, honey.
Hi. We've said hi to her a few times. We can't get her
Yeah.
on camera yet.
You want to come and be on camera?
She's like, no.
But
Did you guys ever hear that I got my husband to do a show with me once? I was on
Really?
the Nerd Culture
Oh, yeah.
Junkie. And it was a Valentine's Day show, and we had spouses on there. We're talking about what it was like to cope with their super nerd spouse. So my husband was on. He was just like, it's great. Because I was sitting right next to him, of course. So I was just like, don't say anything embarrassing or I'll kill you. But anyway,
yeah, so
Water Wars.
that Water Wars came out in 2019, and that was the first one. And literally just trying to hire the top artists on the planet. Like I was trying to find the best ones that I could.
Yeah, how do you even
And
decide that?
well, in my case, I started getting fan art, and because the Socket book did okay. I guess I'm being critical of it. But as far as the
First of all, I don't go on this show because he moved to Wednesdays when it's like the one of 2 days I work a week. So I just want to point that out. Sorry, Tim.
Sorry.
He's yelling at me that I'm not on the show. He used to be like Saturdays. I work 2 days a week. I work Wednesday and Thursday. Sorry, Tim. Go ahead.
it's okay.
He
Waterworld.
lost his train of thought now.
Yeah,
Sorry,
Waterworld
sorry.
2019. I remember.
Yes. Was there a question? I forgot where we were.
I want to hear the pitch for Water War. Like,
It's a
pitch it to us.
collection of overarching short stories in a post-apocalyptic future America.
Right? But why is it called Water Wars? Is it Water World? Too much water? Not enough water?
It's wars. They're fighting over water.
Fighting over water? Yes.
Yeah.
Water.
The premise of it is that a climate event and there's not enough water and they're fighting over water. But that's really just the framework. The stories they run the gamut of post-apocalyptic short stories. There's a pandemic, there's the robot uprising, there's one of the guys gave a great review. All the dystopias are happening at once.
Nice.
Yeah.
See, and that was. Go ahead.
That's okay. You can ask.
No, I was gonna say like. What part of post-apocalyptic shows up in the story? Because we've talked about, like when I was on Holden 11, the top 11, we talked about so many different apocalyptic movies, and it's like sickness, zombies, food, war, government, resource. It could be any of those things. So, what specifically leads to your post-apocalyptic world? Is just war in general, or is it climate? Resource
climate event. On the very interior of the front cover, there's always the map, right? And the map shows you what happened and where it happened. And the idea is that there's this climate event. It's a coronal ejection, a solar flare. And the solar flare contaminates the water. So basically the setup is quickly the government tries to seize all the fresh water sources and water gangs spring up. So it's a battle between the government, the corporations, and the water gangs.
Yeah, because if there's no water, there's no life. I get
And
you.
the civilians are basically caught in the crossfire. And it tends to be, you know, like I'm fond of saying, they tend to be kind of emotional short stories.
Gotcha.
Like the climate event and all that is really just sort of in the background, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like for instance, we'll use the one, like in our version, New York City's underwater, right? Because of the robot war. And the gist of it is there's this terrible war between humans and robot kind. They're trying for democracy. This is the robocracy. If you follow the book, the robocracy is seeking independence. So they declare war on the human race and declare their capital in New York City. Well, of course, the humans command bombs, missiles, blah, blah, blah. The robots detonate a mine underneath the Earth's crust to let the ocean roll in, because robots don't need grass. They don't need food. So they just drown all the humans, right?
Damn it.
Yeah. So that's the setup, right? That gives the idea. But that's not what the story's about. So what the story's about is there's this sea captain. It's his job to patrol the corridor, and he's looking for survivors. Well, he stumbles across this survivor on a raft, and it looks like Marilyn Monroe.
Oh.
Right away, he starts falling in love with this woman. And of course, it's a trap set by the robocracy to find the subs. And of course, she turns on him, and there's a battle right at the end. And it's really cool. There's Shakespeare quotes and there's poetry in it. But, you know, it's easy to say, well, it's not really about the war too much. It's about the poetry quoting captain and robot Marilyn Monroe.
It's the small moments inside the bigger war.
It's a love story.
Yeah. Ooh, I love that. I love that. So I just wanted to show everybody Tim is actively campaigning. There's still 9 days left on this campaign. Let me just grab this short link real quick. I'll drop it in there.
Thank you very much.
We're going to go through it. I would love to have you walk us through the clip. We're going to play the video. We're going to kick the tires and, you know, look under the hood and all that good stuff. But Water Wars is just an amazing, it's just the art. Your artist is amazing. Carissa has used your artist for covers, the scratch or no scratch cover. I would love a cover from that.
I'm doing another one with zombies. So
I mean, let's start at the top. Let's play the video.
Okay. Good evening, everybody. This is Timothy Fling from Earth Dog Studios. I'm here today to officially welcome you to our 7th Kickstarter. We are launching our latest graphic novel, Water Wars 2288, the Ultimate Edition. This will be our most ambitious project yet. It's a full-color 148-page trade paperback collecting volumes 1 to 4 and 2 new additional short stories. We are excited to be back, and we've got a really fun campaign. We've got radioactive tactical maps. We've got Chrome-enhanced trading cards. We've even got some epic downloadable theme songs. All of these are going to be produced with the high level of quality that Earth Dog Studios is known for. It's also important that I say thank you to our amazing backers. We couldn't have gone very far without your patronage, and it's been humbling, really, to see the growth of the brand. And I would like to welcome you back, the organic civilians, the comic collectors, and the new potential followers. I hope to see you behind the backer wall. Don't miss out.
What?
Don't miss out. I love the Kickstarter message.
I love it. I love it. What I also love is your music at the end. So how much of your musical influence ties into Water Wars in your comics? Because there's got to be some overlap.
Yeah. We write all our own songs.
See, that's amazing. Because I think one of the things that I struggle with,
Laurie, you and I talked about this. I have terrible luck with, of course, with YouTube and stuff. They're so stringent on any kind of musical stuff these days. If I didn't write the song, I don't use it.
Yeah, it's tough, man. to
Same.
find anything. And sometimes I will use like copyright free, this, that, and the other. And then 3 years later, guess what? There's copyright on it. I'm like, what? This
Yeah,
is from
my-
3 years ago.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
it wasn't copyright then, but like now the person wants credit for it. So stuff can
But yeah,
change.
each
You don't write the
each
music, there's no
story
guarantee.
each story comes with a song.
That's amazing.
Yeah, there's
Amazing.
11 songs
Gosh,
total. And now we just did the that's going to be debuting this week, which Laurie heard a little bit of, is the new Creative Cranium theme song is going to be coming out this week.
Yes.
Which is a little bit different. It's not metal. It's like it's supposed to sound like it's a TV show theme song, and it totally sounds like it too. It sounds like Friends or something.
Awesome. That's awesome. All right. So we're 9 days to go. How many days was this at the jump?
It was 36 or 35 days. I tacked like 5 more days onto it because I was nervous about going, the Christmas holiday.
Yeah.
And that is worthwhile because I think one of them, it might have been Christmas Eve. It was my only backerless day.
Yeah. I mean, and that happens. I get backerless days when I don't run on. That was going to be one of my questions too, if we had time, is how do you find running a campaign, not only over the holidays, but at the end of the year? I feel like people just they're not paying attention, but
the writing on the wall is we're both in these groups and like, oh, don't run a campaign over Christmas and it's blah, 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 blah. And I'm really struggling. I'm tracking my most successful campaign, so I don't know what to tell you.
yeah. So it's like, is it that? Is it the time of year? Is it the economy? Is it the product? Who knows? And every time we
All
run
the
a
above,
campaign,
maybe.
they're always something different. You know what I mean? They always run differently. There's different amounts that come in. So it's like you try and prepare as best you can, and then you pray when you push the button.
Yeah.
But congratulations on your success. This is looking really good.
Well, thank you. Thank you very
Goal
much.
of 2288, more than doubling. You know what I mean? You're almost double of what you're needed to be. Is 4170. You'll get there too. 109 backers in 9 days to go. You still have that last push in those couple days where you're going to. Everything okay? Do you need me?
No, just checking to give me a message there. Sorry about that.
Gotcha. No, I was like, do I need to call somebody? Do we need an adult?
It's very important. I'm being notified that the dumplings are ready. No, but
I have some dumplings
is
too.
important.
You can.
I was
you
like,
really
man,
them.
homemade dumplings. We're going over to Tim's house.
Okay, you need to share these dumplings with my friends, honey.
Tennessee and Texas. Transport them. It's like teleport. All right, so here we are in this. Let's take a look.
Essentially what we have here, this is people have said to me things like, you guys know Travis Gibb, right?
Yes.
Of course.
He says to me things like, and he's correct. He says, look, the fact is you've got so many issues and stuff, and it's kind of a broad product line. It's somewhat difficult to follow, right? Because there's 4 issues. You got the Chronicles. There's 2 issues of Chronicles. You got 4 issues of Water Wars. You got the Planet Comic stories with the Antarctic Press. I got one in Russell Nolte's book. It's so much material.
Yeah.
So for the first time, this is everything together under one roof, right?
That's
so
awesome.
and it's a 2-volume set. So if you buy the 2288 and the Chronicles, you effectively have every story that I've ever written for the Water Wars series. And if people like lore and they like connectivity, they are all loosely connected, as we've described. But the thing that's different about our universe, you could take that book, you could open up to page 48 and read just one story, and it's a story. It's not too different. It's a little bit framed after the works of people like Richard Matheson, Isaac Asimov, Harlan Ellison. If you love all those names, you will love Water Wars. And we talk a little bit about things like iRobot. Some people love iRobot, right?
Yes.
But even in that novel, remember, that's not actually a novel. It's a collection of 18 short stories, and you can read just one. But then you read the second one, and it might be the same character, but he's just doing something else, right?
Different,
so,
yeah.
Yeah, they're all connected, but you don't necessarily have to read them all, or you don't even have to read them in order.
That's cool.
Yeah.
It'll just be nice to have them all in one place. You know what I mean? Just that kind of appeals to me, where it's like, because I would say I binge consume, where it's like, if I really like something, I want to just go there and live in that headspace for as long as I can.
Yeah,
exactly. I binge Netflix shows. Like when I watched Blue Eyed Samurai, I just took a day. I was sick, and all I did was watch Blue Eyed Samurai all day. You know what I mean? So that's what I love about this kind of idea, where it's like things have been published in different medium, different story, different chronologically area, and just put it all together. And now I can just dive into this world and get lost. That's amazing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and like I say, I've been very fortunate. It's very well received, and the reviews and stuff are pretty decent for me. So I'm off to a pretty good start, right? It's number 5 is in production now. There's no indication of stopping anytime soon. I got a little bit of an ongoing publishing deal with Antarctic Press. Thank you very much, Ben Dunn and the guys over at Antarctic. They've been great to me. And so I got, you can go in the shops and buy it if you like. But to me, I do better with selling them on my own. I sell them on my web platform, and I do conventions, and I do Kickstarters. I am definitely going to be changing some of it up for 2024. Again, I talk with Laurie and Carissa about this all the time, because we try to find what works and what doesn't work, right? And there's it's sometimes we find out a very long list of what doesn't work, and what does work still eludes us. So I haven't figured out all the answers yet, but you got to keep changing it up, right?
Yeah, and I think that's part of the answer, is to be willing to change and willing to willing to throw spaghetti at the wall and see if it sticks.
See what sticks, yeah.
And if it doesn't work, we'll change tactics and just, constantly evolve. But it's the evolving it's hard, because you're constantly looking for answers and testing and pushing. It'd be very easy just to be like, okay, I have my website, I'm going to put all my effort into my website, and that's it. It's just one source, but that's not the reality of that we live in indie. It's constantly changing. Even social media is constantly changing. So we have to adapt to what's going on.
Right.
Tell me about this picture with Citizen 0313.
She's Citizen 0313. And this is, I guess I'll start by saying one of the elements of Water Wars is they tend to revolve around female protagonists. And this isn't me making some kind of political statement or anything. It just happened that way. And people liked it, and we leaned into it. So if you like things like Imperator Furiosa, Ellen Ripley from Alien, and you like sort of like strong, badass female characters, you're going to like Water Wars, because that's the gist of it. Yeah, and they
right, me and Chris are like, we're there.
Yeah, and they're also, if you read the stories, they tend to solve the problems with their wits. It's not like her ongoing battle is she's always trying to do something without shooting anyone.
Yeah.
Like in number 2, she shoots somebody and she's like, I don't want to do that again. There's got to be some better way, right? Because there's still, the world's terrible and it's the apocalypse, but they're still human beings.
Right.
So that's the wrestling. And it's often about how do we solve the problem without shooting each other? Because it really, that's what a lot of stories become, is gun battles in them, right?
Yeah.
So, in my case, there's no powers. Nobody's got X-ray vision. It's not really superheroes necessarily. They're just trying to survive. And we do have sci-fi stuff, like there's robots and you can have cybernetic parts, but it's not, my superpower saves me. We try to make it not that,
Yeah. So people have to rely on their human nature and wit.
Yeah. And this one, the image that we're seeing there,
Yeah.
that's from number 2. And the idea is that it's a government camp. They're called nests, National Emergency Settlement Territory.
Nice.
Yeah, we love acronyms.
Yes.
And she gets rolled in, and her father is a famous scientist. He's an inventor of this. It's called the neural harmonic, which is a device that can be used to control artificial intelligence. And she's the only one that knows how to use it. And that's why she doesn't give her correct name. So she's stamped by her DNA, like people are scanned in by their blood type because of this pandemic. So they tend to have numbers. Right. So she's Citizen 0313. And sometimes people ask me, it's a little bit of a spoiler, but the idea is we also have kind of like this badass female warrior, which is kind of like the one that you see behind me there. See that one with the mask?
Yeah, I love her.
Yeah, Sarah is Citizen 0313. Citizen 0313 is the beginning, and Sarah Strong is the ending.
Okay.
Yeah. And remember, she's on a pseudonym. The part of the script is, you guys like scripts. They're saying, look, you're in a lot of danger here. You might need to leave your name behind you. What should we call you? And it switches to a flashback, and it's her father, right as the family's getting ready to be executed. And he says, look, you're going to need to be strong. And that's how she becomes Sarah Strong.
Oh, Oh, hey,
Yeah.
what's up, Lou? Yeah, I know. I love this. I love this panel right here. It's beautiful.
Yeah, that's the artwork
Really
of
good.
David Dion. And in those days, this is a little bit of an epic storyline. This is the longest one. But like I say, they all tie together. And, you could just take it out and read her story and say, oh, what an interesting story. But then you read number 4 and you're like, oh, so that's why she has a metal arm. Yes, that's exactly why. Oh, so that's why the robots are chasing her. It's about the blood. Yes, that's exactly why.
Yeah,
Like,
I
it's all
getcha.
explained, but you don't need to know everything to read one story.
Yeah.
I'll give you a great example. Are either of you Star Wars fans?
Yes.
Okay. In the first 3 Star Wars movies, they didn't even ever touch once on what a Wookiee was. Did you like Chewbacca anyway?
Yep.
Yeah. One of the coolest characters, right? But they
Yep.
never mentioned what the heck a Wookiee was. It was like a giant
Right.
dog or some shit.
It's like, what is this thing? And then you find out that Han Solo is actually his dog.
Yeah. This is a popular character we got too. This is Phaedra 5. Her
I like
element of
her.
the story is she's been programmed by the father to search the waste for the surviving children, which is Citizen 0313 and her brother David. So
Mm.
basically, she has one job, which is to search and find Citizen 0313 and guide her to safety. That's her only job. And the thing that's interesting is it's not revealed to the end. Wait a minute, Phaedra 5? Does that mean there's others? The answer is
Yeah, she's
yes.
number 5. Is there
The
1 through
answer is
4?
yes. Yeah. Do you want me to tell you the ending? I love to give
Ooh,
spoilers up.
no spoilers.
All right.
He always yells at me about that. I love
I
spoilers.
do.
Yeah,
Bruce is
generally
the worst.
script
You
people
just start
love
talking about
spoilers.
plot points on the show, and I'm like, you should stop now.
There's nothing I could say that would spoil it where you would want to not read it. That's the thing. So
Yeah, the idea is it makes you want to read it more.
yeah.
The next one you see here, this is a short story that was written for Travis Gibbs' book. This is Tales from the Collective Initiative. This is about it's already been published once under the Orange Cone imprint, but it's never been published under Earth Dog Studios. But great, yeah. Hey, by the way, Quentin, it does a little bit rhyme with Tara Strong, who is a somewhat famous voice actress.
Oh.
If you guys know who she is.
Oh, look, it's Brandon. Hi, Brandon.
Hey, Brandon, how you doing? But in this case, the story was, again, you have the female protagonist. And the concept of this one, she's a geneticist who's been working on a top secret government experiment. And now, in short, the atmosphere is collapsing and they're running out of time. And the government is seizing control of the city. And she gets the call, you've got to get down to the lab and deactivate the experiment. They want to turn it off before anybody discovers what they've done. What they've done is once there was no more police forces, the major corporations have started creating genetically enhanced bodyguards to protect their perimeters. And this explains, well, wait a second, it's water wars. I get that. But why is the world full of monsters? Why are these creatures in the sky? Why are there genetically enhanced minotaurs? It's because they were created by this lab. And this is Science Officer Jenkins. At the very end, she lets them all loose.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Dang it. It's like, do I close it down? Well, especially if they're sentient beings, you have to kill them
and
all?
it's a little bit, she's not a bad guy. It turns out that she's been a little bit under the mind control of the Terramorph.
Oh.
And, as I say, I love to frame the materials. This one's framed in the 1950s B movie. So if you like The Day the Earth Stood Still, Earth versus the Flying, it's a little bit corny, if you know what I mean. So if you like a little bit corny, it's just a fun story. And the concept of it, you see in the panel there, she's, look, I'm a scientist, not a soldier. What am I doing?
Look at that. She's got to get through there.
Yeah. And that was terrific fun to make. And thank you very much, Travis Gibb, for the opportunity. I'm grateful.
Here's some more Sarah Strong.
Yeah.
She's awesome.
Yeah, very, very popular character. And you notice that the war corridor, as we call it, is what used to be called Route 66. So on her journey, she tends to pass a lot of well-known American landmarks.
That's awesome.
Yeah, right. And it's things like one of them, it's the Washington Monument, and then there's the St. Louis Arch, and they're all destroyed and everything, but you can tell that you are in America.
And I like that too. I do that in my own story where it's like if you pay attention to where the character is, you can figure out where they are in the country, and that you might even be able to logically put together where they are going based off of their situation and what the story is telling you. So it's interesting to see like where she is going and the things that are in the background and how the world has kind of treated it. You know what I mean? In the meantime, that things have fallen apart. I love her outfit, by the way. We should definitely. I don't have red hair, but I could probably cosplay that.
Yeah,
That would be fun.
that was designed by Bruno Lima, and man, he has just done a terrific job, and I got to recommend him.
Yay!
He's been a terrific addition to the team.
Yes, we have co-host Carissa Grant on today. Max, good morning.
Hi, Max.
And now remind me the name of the cover artist here.
This is Erwin Arosa.
Thank you.
He's
Amazing.
probably out of all my people, he's probably, if he's not number one, then he's definitely in second space as far as the number of pages generated, because he does interiors also for me.
Just amazing work.
Mhm.
I would love for him to do a cover for me too, because
Good. I told you
amazing.
He's fun to work with too. He's a super nice fellow.
I send Laurie all of these. You got to get this person.
I know. I have like a list, and it's like, of course, we're doing a trade paperback next, so we're only going to have one cover, which of course will be Marco's. So people are like, "Hey, can I do a cover?" And I'm like, "Maybe talk to me in February, March,
So
maybe."
I have enough covers. I literally have enough covers for all the variants for 2024 and 2025, and I'm still buying covers because I just don't know how to stop.
I know, because I'm putting all the trade dress on them.
I know,
where
I'm
you are.
sorry.
She keeps
Yeah.
sending them to me like, "You can do this one too," and I'm like, "Girl."
And I only have like 2 covers per, well, 3 total, 2 variants per issue. But
That is not true. Lies, Carissa. Bold lies from you.
No, the only time that I'm gonna have one different one is issue 5 of what is it? Issue 14. I lost track. 12. Yeah, 12 of 12 is got an extra cover because somebody did it for me. But no, I only have 3. Which one did I have more than 3 besides scratches? No scratches. That doesn't count.
Yeah, but you do that kind of stuff. Like you have 2 people color the same one, and I'm like, oh.
Because I have a problem with, like, I can't tell when the color, like, I don't know. I have a hard time telling which color is better. I'm horrible at it. So I'll pay like 4 people to color it, and then be like, I can't decide. So
Stop it.
Everyone. Anyway.
So what do we have broken down here? You have by volume, like what?
Yes, I thought it might be interesting to. Well, what's a good way to put this? Man, we can all make great covers, right? But I'm always interested in seeing the pages because that kind of shows what the interior is going to be like. So in this case, I divided it up by volume. So it just gives you a little bit of an inference of what kind of material is in the book and what the interior looks like, right?
Gotcha.
So the first volume,
was there different artists on every volume? Is that?
It's a little bit of a mix and match, I guess you'd say.
Gotcha. Okay.
They got a team graphic coming up. Over the course of 4 years, there's been 18 of us.
Wow. Bonus story. Love it.
Yeah. Oh, also the band story. Let me explain what that means. When I submitted a story, this is for Russell Nolte's Cthulhu is Hard to Spell. And I wanted to write a Lovecraft story, and he does these great anthologies, and they're very successful. Thank you, Russell, for the opportunity. And they recruited me sort of, and I was going to be the sci-fi story in the book, which, man, awesome, right at my wheelhouse. So this is our Lovecraft short story, which is Error of the Last Acolyte, or as we sometimes call it in the house here, Water Wars 3288, because it's 1,000 years in the future. And the premise of it is that 3 monks summon an elder god and sort of receive a terrible surprise. And to make a long story short, the story was kicked back the first time because we did a female Lovecraftian goddess. And when she comes bursting through from the other dimension, she didn't have any clothes on.
Dun, dun, dun.
So now, to handle it in the story that was released for the all ages version, like sometimes it's carefully placed lettering, or maybe there's flames in front of her. You know, he jokingly said, "Look, can't you go back and draw her with a bra on?" You know, and it isn't like it isn't prurient or anything, but it is a nude female form, which doesn't upset me as much, I guess, as some people.
I guess. I
But
guess
anyway,
the context matters, but still, it's like, oh my gosh.
yeah, the thing that's funny is they didn't have any problem with the end of all human life, but they did have a problem with a girl with her shirt off.
See, I come up with this problem all the time because I kill people in some really grisly ways, but as soon as there's boobs in it, it's like, ah.
Isn't that weird? Isn't that weird? So in this case,
We're
we are
okay with this
releasing the
dude losing his head. All right.
in this case, we are releasing the unedited version. So you'll get to see a little boobage in Water Wars for the first time.
Dun, dun. Is it going to be in the volume? One of the volumes? Okay.
Yeah, it's this volume is everything in it.
Everything. I
Yeah.
thought you said it was, is it 2 books or 1 book?
It is 2 books.
It is 2 books. Okay. Gotcha.
So basically, the easiest way to describe it is this. Ready?
Yes.
Well, the Water Wars series has 2 arms. One is 2288, which tends to be female protagonists, and it is drawn in a classical comic art style, and it feels like a comic or a graphic novel. And the second one is the Chronicles, which is all sort of a hand-painted look. All the pages and covers are designed by Erwin Arosa, and it tends to be very emotional sci-fi stories.
Gotcha.
Very much along.
Yeah.
Yeah,
See, we can see the difference here.
Yeah.
Versus
Yeah.
here.
Yeah.
See, I see the difference. Yeah. Yeah.
And also, if you like sort of like hard sci-fi, you'd probably like Chronicles. If you like sort of like comics, you'll like 2288.
Kaboom.
And of course, if you like everything, you get everything together.
I mean, I like it checks all the things for me. I love sci-fi and I love post-apocalypse.
I think you'd like it, Laurie.
Yeah, I think I would too. And just you have such amazing art in here too. There's no drawback.
Yeah.
Digital. All right, so rewards. We get digital edition, $5 for all of it.
Not only that, that includes all the songs and the maps.
What? You're insane. Oh my gosh.
Well, and the reason why I did that is the truth of it is, you know, I'm a publisher. I'm looking for printed versions and to make a graphic novel. But my fastest growing segment is the digital segment.
Yeah,
and a lot of people, especially creators, they like to back the digital segment so they can show their support. So it's got to be cheap. And the simple fact of the matter is, you know, most people that are doing that, they're not reading the material. So you may as well just make it as cheap as possible.
That's a good point. The deluxe digital season.
The deluxe digital is that one's $15. That's we call it the season pass. I don't want to get too far off the track, but we do make other titles other than Water Wars.
Yeah.
If you go into the $15 version, that will get you, it is all the issues of 2288, all the issues of Chronicles, all the issues of Socket, the first issue of Call of the Cryptid, and what else am I missing? There's one other one, right? Cryptid. Well, I should have wrote this down, but anyway, it includes everything. But you know,
you're among friends who are like.
Perhaps surprisingly, that was our so far up till this, our biggest seller was Call of the Cryptid. So if you want the digital of that, you can.
Great one too. We were campaigning around the same time when you were doing Call of the Cryptid, so I got to hear lots of that because we were on this shows, and I had a blast looking at those. That's a good one too, people. If you haven't seen Call of the Cryptid,
yeah, and that one people are still finding its way, that title, because it's kind of weird, right? But
it is, but it's awesomely weird. It's like that level. It's like Men in Black meets Bigfoot in the woods meets aliens and weird man-eating creatures. It's like there's so much crammed into there.
Yeah, it's a lot. Stuff. And also it's got the bands. Call of the Cryptid has bands in
it. Yes, that's what we need is some more music.
Yep.
So for $29, people can get the trade?
That's the trade. And that's basically a few volumes, pages. Right? You got the 2288 and the Chronicle. So it's 29 or 30. Or if you want to buy both of them together, $44. What a deal.
Why would you not buy both of them at that price?
And that's really, you can tell that's what I'm trying to get people to do. And they're doing it.
Laser engraved wood etching. Tim brought me onto that.
Yeah.
I'm going to do that. So Tim, I've already talked to some people. We're going to be doing the wood etching covers for 5, 6, 7, 8 because we did metal for 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah. And now that we're like where the story goes is much more apocalyptic Western in 5, 6, 7, 8. So we're switching over to the wood engraved cover. So I'm really
I think
excited
it's
for that.
I think it's perfect for your brand.
Yeah.
The one
So
tip I would give you is, you know what I do now is I send because the computer has difficulty. That's a nice one right there.
This is
wait,
the
wait,
book.
wait, there we go. Look at that,
Yeah.
people. So cool.
The wood etching is awesome. It is. It was awesome.
In fact, I had to go back and find that website that you sent me a long time ago for that. It's like nerdables.shop. And I was like, yeah, go back there and check it out.
Yes, he's a nice guy. And so what I was saying was it's best to send, is again, just one man's opinion. The
Right.
computer doesn't differentiate color gradients very well. So what you want to do is do a dress version of a black and white cover.
Mm-hmm.
And it'll
Yes.
come out brilliant because it etches it into the wood so that the more contrast you have, like the more it pops, if you know what I mean.
Mm-hmm.
Carissa, hold yours up once.
Yeah. Show it off.
You
Yeah.
see, see how like the black stands out from the white? That's really a good
Yes.
one.
Oh,
Yeah, I see the difference.
Yeah.
The
Oh,
Anubis
awesome.
pops more, but the other one is very nice as well.
Yeah. They're both pretty good.
Yeah. I like it. So yeah, for this $48 level, you can get the laser engraved wood etching.
Mm-hmm.
Ooh. Let's go shopping, people.
And the other things that come, if you want all the covers that Erwin worked on, he's done a cover for each book. You can get his cover set, or you can. The collector set comes with the trading cards. Also, take a quick touch on the indie creator advertisement. One of the things I'm working more and more on, and this would be open to anybody that wants to try it, is to support indie creators in a way that would be meaningful and actually drive some kind of business to them. One of the things that we decided on is similar to a house ad in the back of old comics where you see ads for the other books. Like in this case, you'll be able to go in and you'll be able to see ads for the indie creators. And, it's a relatively inexpensive ad, but these ship now to 25 countries. So people are going to see your ad.
That's cool. Yeah, I have another one. My book ad is going to be in. It'll be in 2 books now. I'm in one of the versions of Slaughterville, and then Raise their new book. I think it's number 6, 7. I forget. They're so far along, but it's like a manga style book. So I'm gonna have a Path ad in there too. So that's exciting. That's new for me. We'll see if it does anything. It might, but it's just fun. Yeah. I love that.
Yeah, I sold one of them already. I always tend to get one. And I'm in the CGC business. As you guys know, I do slab books. That's always a good seller for me. And they do great on raffles and drawings. If you ever do a public appearance, people like them.
Gotcha.
The retailer tier is just what it sounds like. It's a retail package and it's dirt cheap. In other words, I'm losing a couple of bucks on each one that I sell.
Pretty much. That's how it goes, though.
That's how it should be, because what you're trying to do, remember, what you're trying to do is get into stores, not to be profitable. Yeah.
Right.
Drawn in tier. One of the best ones, guaranteed to be a best-in-class experience.
Mm-hmm.
Original art tier is just what it sounds like.
Yep.
And I also do production tier, which is something I usually do 1 or 2. I got one of them right now. I got a new client. We're working on it's a murder mystery, which will be presented in a multimedia format. It looks like a scrapbook. And when you open it up, like there's letters and like a letter falls out. And it's like, oh, it's somebody's old scrapbook. And then as you read it, you realize that the guy has killed his wife.
Oh, shit.
Yeah.
Whoops.
That's called the Halcyon Knife. And we're going to be seeing that probably in the last quarter of 2024. I'm not the writer of it. I'm just going to be the editor on that, editor and production.
That's great. Yeah, I have plans. I don't know. I want to pick your brain on some things maybe later.
Yeah, sure.
Stretch goals. Protect the book. Upgrade cover and paper stock. Nice. $24.88. Unlock the visions. Unlock the visions?
Yeah, it's additional art. We're going to put in there some production art and I got, like everybody else probably, I've got tons of art that have never been seen. We're going to include some of that in the book. And one of my most popular things is people like to meet the creators. We got some nice interviews and things they've done. Cool. Quentin, I'd love to see this as a Netflix series.
Yeah.
We do something I did different this time. Now supporting the book, the first stretch goal is a digital comic. And the second stretch goal is a second digital comic. I learned this from
Ooh.
Matt Knowles. I used to do the thing, and actually Carissa knows this. I had it up to like 22 books or something like
I
that.
do. That's what I have.
But what I found was I had devalued the collection, and nobody out of 219 backers, something like 11 people clicked on it last time. Because man, the more you give it away free, the more people think it's not worth something. And I had a talk with Matt, and he's like, "Man, you're marketing it wrong." So I switched up, and already I've got more clicks by saying it's one.
So you only release one digital
Mm-hmm.
and a stretch goal. Okay, interesting.
Yeah. Well, it'll be two because we're going to hit the second stretch
Of
goal.
course, of course.
And what it is, this is what they call an A/B test.
Am I too far?
And
Did I go too far? Here it is. Free
Yeah.
digital comic. Yeah.
And then, of course, the map. We make maps. Let's see.
That's really cool. Radioactive tactical map. And this is a big thing for me too. I love interaction where I'm just like, ooh. And I'm always like, should I put stuff in black light, and do I include a decoder ring, and do I
I
put
love that
links to
stuff.
people? You know what I mean? So this is right up my alley too. I love this stuff.
Hey, you read Lord of the Rings, you open it up, page 1, it's the map.
Is the map. Yep. I was like, I need a map for my trade paperback.
Yeah. Yep.
I'm on it. Light the Way, Bell Tolls, updated Earth Dog Studios collector's guide. What's that?
What that is, it's a 2-page spread that shows. We initially made it as like if you're a comic collector, you can look through and check all the boxes because there's so many issues now. There's something like
so you can like actually check them off as you. That's cool.
Yeah, and it shows basically every book that we've made, including ones published by Antarctic and other publishers. And even this year, I guess I'll even include. I was writer on a book that came from Bad Bug Media this year.
Cool.
And actually, thanks for the opportunity on that, Mike Tiener.
Awesome. I just happened to look up at the time. We got like 6 minutes.
We got to rip through.
I was like, oh my God. This is what happens when you have your besties on the show, is like you totally forget. No, not, I mean, Tim too. It's just like, we just start talking about comic stuff, and it's like,
you're doing fine. The time flew by. I'm enjoying this.
Huh?
The time flew by. I'm enjoying this.
Yeah, exactly. And that's how it always is on this show. It's like, everybody's like, it's 2 hours, but we get on here and we have such a fun time. It's like, oh my gosh, we got to wrap up. Dang it. Please, viewers, go check this out. I posted the link. Let me highlight it here. Go check out all of Tim's stuff. It looks like this is a beautiful collection. Lots of great opportunities. Go shopping. Spend some time on the page. Let's, click around. Is there anything specific that you want me to highlight in these last few minutes before we kicked off the show?
No, but since we're just about to the end, I sure would like to say thanks to Laurie and thanks Carissa for your support over the years. It's really meant a lot to me, and I'm grateful. You guys have been awesome to me, and since you have it up, I'd also like to thank my teammates.
I was like, holy, look at this team.
I jumped at the chance when I heard Tim was on.
Thank you.
We were talking about co-hosting, and I was like, Tim will be the first one. She's like, Tim, and I was like, yeah, Tim Flynn. She's like, no problem, I'll be there.
Yeah, we know each other, sure.
And
I'm sure I'll have you guys back on that too.
What's that?
I was going to say I'll look forward to you guys can be on my show here coming up.
I'm back on for
it's coming up.
8. Yeah, January.
I got to start looking at my 2024. Not that I haven't. It's just like, when you get so focused, we're at the end of the book, and it's like, all right, once I finish this, I can start planning the next thing. So that's where we're at.
I have 6 Kickstarters planned for next year.
I know, because they're all booked with me to be on my show.
Yes.
Which, by the way, I have opened to Calendly. So if anybody's interested in coming on the Tuesday Morning Brew, if you're already scheduled with me, I already have those dates blocked out, so no one else can schedule those. But if you're interested in coming on, I can shoot you the link, and you can go out as far as you need to. It's not 60 days. You can actually schedule all the way through the end of 2024, like Carissa did, to come on the Tuesday Morning Brew. Get those spots. They tend to go quick. I'm usually booked out a couple months. So if you have a campaign going that you are planning for 2024, we launch Kickstarters on this show. We do panels.
And she's the best at it.
We have a lot of fun. I'll smash pumpkins on the show. We do a lot of fun things. So please, if you're interested in coming on, just let me know. I'll make sure you get that Calendly link so you can get on here. Tim, thank you so much for coming on. I mean, we could probably fill another 2 hours talking about
Yeah, this was
comics and
fun. Yeah, this
music
was
and
fun.
yeah, you're just such a gracious host too. So I love coming on your shows. I look forward to being on more and hanging out with you and just talking comics and shooting the shit.
Yeah, I got one for each of you too,
Yeah.
because I wanted to. Is it okay if I mention this real quick?
Do it.
Okay, so yeah, so we're going to be doing Holden's 11 is going to be circling back around, and I wanted to do post-apocalyptic novels, which we hadn't done,
Let's do it.
and I also I wanted to do something with alien movies, and I thought maybe that might work for Carissa.
Aliens like Ellen Ripley, that world.
Well, what I was thinking was something like the most
Aliens general.
gruesome alien movies or something, like, you know, the
Mhm.
chest popper and the something with aliens and gross.
I do love gross.
Okay. I'm still putting that one together. So, oh, and by the way, if you guys happen to be so inclined, Carissa knows this, but I don't think I told Laurie. I saved you a spot too. On Friday night, we're doing the Creative Cranium Critical Countdown, and we're going to review the 25 books of the year. And it's the reviews. It's going to be super fast because so many people signed up. It's going to be about 2 minutes, 3 minutes review of each creator. But we're trying to show some little love to creators right at the end of the year.
I can come.
Yeah, well, the panel's full, but I got your book on. It'll be featured.
Okay.
Yeah,
it's just one of those, like, Christmas happens and when my kids are off school and I'm trying to like bake cookies and plan things and then I got sick in between. It's just like I've been off of all socials pretty much.
It's all
track of
good.
everything.
Listen, I told Carissa this too because I hadn't heard from you guys, but I knew that you'd want to do it, so I saved a space.
Yes.
I saved a space for you.
Thank you. Yeah,
You're
I mean,
welcome, you're
Carissa
welcome.
knows. I was like, I'm dead. She's like, are you okay, woman? And I'm like, no, I'm dead today. Don't.
It's a good panel too. We got Travis Gibb, Tom Hutchison, Dennis Knight. It's a good panel.
Travis Gibb loves me.
Yeah.
We'll talk about that later.
So that's Friday night, 9 p.m. Eastern.
I'll be there.
Yeah.
Cool. What? If you can do merch, so can you, Tim. Tim has merch in there. You just have to. Hold
I'm
on.
not too interested in merch.
Zombie
there's
cookie.
stuff here. You got. I mean, you don't think like these laser engraved wood etchings are merch or like the trading cards
I
and
think you want plushies. You still need plushies.
I kind of want to, but my thing is it pulls me away from writing. I'm a writer.
Plushies?
plushies?
Did I tell you my story about making hats? Probably don't have enough time for this story.
No, but now I need to know. But maybe we could do it after the show. Zombie cookies. I know. I see, and that's me too. I'm always like the hot sauce. In fact, I had someone just contact me like, "Hey, got any more of that hot sauce?" And I'm like, "I got one bottle, but I'm gonna do another batch. I think for the trade paperback, people really enjoyed that hot sauce. So,
but yeah, by the way, I love merch and everything. It's not that. It's just I'm just the one guy.
you just don't have time.
Yeah.
Well, then you're at a different place than where you're a publisher too. You know what I mean? So you're writing, you're publishing, you got all sorts of things going. Chris and I are like, I got my comic, mine.
Well, and customers love merch. But you can make a pretty good point that it eats up a good bit of time,
This
or at
is my
least
first commercially made.
I know. That's really cool. We were all looking at that. But see, now everybody's doing plushies. So
I know they all copied me, Tim. All of them.
Trust me, I know all about that.
Except for me, I didn't do it yet, but I will.
You didn't know what I want to do it.
I know. She's like, I need a good James plushie, and I'm like, sorry, I can't do it.
Yes, I'm so excited. I did cut off his staff, so he's got this one. I'm gotta get a price on it so that he can have a real thing.
3D printed staff.
Yeah, because I hate the other one. People want it, so I bought 50 with it and 50 without it. But I think it's not as nice quality. It's just, it doesn't seem to. I mean, this is such awesome quality, and then it's got a little foam staff. People like it. I didn't like. I'm the only one that didn't like it.
I hear you.
Whatever. Yeah.
All right, guys. Well, we got to wrap up the show. There's more people coming. There's a show after this one. And thank you so much, Tim, for coming. We can drop your socials real quick. Tell people where they can follow you real quick.
Well, I'm on Substack right now. That's Earth's Mightiest Substack. That's got some of the best writing you're going to see on Substack. If you want to follow me on Facebook, I'm Timothy B. Foing. That's B as in boy. I'm not the one who does the check kiting. I'm the one who makes the comics. And of course, I'm also at earthdogstudios.com and pretty regularly on Kickstarter. So
Yep.
kind of easy to find. On Friday nights, we do the Creative Cranium show. And periodically, we're going to be doing the Holden's 11 show, as well as we're working some musicians in this year. So if you have some music and you'd like to promote it on the air, give me a
My
shout out.
band, the one that does my music would
Sounds
probably
like your
love that.
husband, right?
Tell them to reach out to me. Yeah, we do this. I got a songwriting episode coming up. I'm on the fence between recording them and doing them live. I get it that live is good sort of for to keep your foot in the
Interaction.
water, but it's the simple fact is they get less views. My recorded ones do much better.
Huh.
But I told you why, right? Did I tell you why?
I don't know. Did you?
You have to. It's an algorithm that. Are you talking about YouTube?
Well,
Views
yeah,
on YouTube?
yeah.
Because they changed the algorithm for live per recorded. So what you have to do is you have to do it live and then repost it as recorded. That's what you'll get more views.
Well, yeah, I do that now, but they still don't get as many views.
Really?
Yeah.
Because I heard somebody told me that if they do live, it just doesn't get the same amount of views until she posts it as recorded, and then the algorithm changes. But
yeah, well, like even this one, I streamed I put it on my YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
But some of it might do.
Tim, I already linked it to your YouTube. I wonder if it's on there twice.
Oh, okay, that's cool. That's cool.
Good
I
times, people.
I think that sometimes
watch Tim and then watch it again.
It could be just the content. Like the 11 show, they tend to be content based.
Is one longer than the other?
About the same, I think.
Then I don't know.
Yeah.
We got to go, people.
Bye.
We love you all. Thank you for watching. Join us next week with another great guest. We will be here as always on the Tuesday Morning Brew with the hottest coffee and the most creative guests. Carissa, are you joining us next week? Remind me.
If you want me to.
Then she'll be joining us because the answer is always yes. And we will see you all next week. Kiss your babies. Bye.
Cheers.
There is a creature in the swamps. It lives to destroy. The beast they call Hogzilla.
After his latest get-rich scheme goes sideways, Gary Duba, the quintessential Florida man, ends up with a stash of somebody's high-end memorabilia. His gal Crystal is on probation and preparing for the fight of her life, squaring off against Australia's Queen of Combat. Delilah's got her back in training, staying off rich foods and the nose candy. Meanwhile, Gary and his best friend Floyd have been hired to wrangle a massive, abnormally aggressive feral hog that's terrorizing the swamp and wrecking Gary's old neighborhood. Can they bag the elusive monster swine without destroying the Sunshine State? Reserve your copy of Florida Man vs. Hogzilla at FloridaManComics.com. We're bringing back funny books, y'all.
Comic Books for Kids provides comic books to kids in hospitals and cancer centers across the U.S. It's a place where we can all work together to make sure every child has a comic book. 100% of all proceeds go towards the kids. It's about making a difference, and while they're in the hospital, allowing them to fly like a superhero, battle dragons, or rescue teddy bears. We are in every state in the country and now support over 160 hospitals. Every month, we add more.
Visit cb4k.org